Hello for everybody. Here we are with Let's Talk. I'm Elena and I have my favorite friend, Mark. Do I have to tell your last name?
No, you don't have to.
Okay.
We'll keep it a secret. They can look it up on Google Places or something.
Thank you for coming on this beautiful Sunday.
My pleasure, Elena. Always good to see you.
What do we do usually with friends? Like everybody else, we get together and we chat, we discuss something interesting to us. So you're welcome to be a part of our conversation because we have a lot to talk with Mark because we know each other for a long, long time. And most important topic, what people usually discuss, we gossip, right? But we're not gonna do that because we are more interested about relationships because it's everywhere with family, between husband and wife, between children and family, at work. So we discuss about only relationships between people. How do we interact? Why do we do that? Because we love that. That's all, because we are humans. Okay, anyway, last time I remember we were talking about your opinion, why guys, for example, act in certain way with women. Because I know you're a professional and I like your opinion.
Guy.
Yes, you're a professional.
My life.
I know how women follow you. I know how they look at you. And I think they...
You've been spying on me?
For sure, yes.
I gotta close down my Facebook.
Yes.
So tell me, how do women follow me? How do women look at me? What are you seeing that you want answers to? What are your questions?
Oh, a lot of questions I have for myself and for people who I usually talk to, because they're asking me my opinion, because there is no correct recipe on anything, even though psychologists, you know that, because everybody has certain situation.
Totally agree. Everything's different, and that's why many things are, I think people that read too much
That's right.
relationship magazines or study what a psychologist might say, it doesn't work because it's everything in the moment. And
That's right, I agree with that.
But nobody is a cookie cutter. No man, no woman is a cookie cutter, and this is what they tend to do, I think even on relationship shows. And I never approach a relationship where we see each other at events a lot with a preconceived idea.
For example, let's go closer to the certain example.
We're going to name names, so it'll be interesting.
Ooh. Okay, what about when people misunderstand each other? It is a very common in relationship between man and woman. So how to overcome that, and should you explain yourself, or what should you do?
There's a couple questions there. I think the minute you start to explain yourself, you're going to lose the other person. Because very rarely, especially if you've only known each other a brief period of time, does the other person really care why you did something right or why you did something wrong, because they always have their own opinion. So the best you can be is who you are. If somebody likes you, that's one thing. If they don't like you, well, you want them to, but it doesn't always work out that way.
What about somebody who pretend, or maybe he is or she is sincere about feelings, and suddenly something happened and person doesn't trust anymore? So, and another person tried to overcome that misunderstanding and try to explain themselves. So, what do you think to do?
There's a lot of that out there. A lot of people, both men and women, throughout their lives have been hurt.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this earlier about what's going to come up and what we're going to say. It's sort of like the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. So if you've been hurt, I think you have to be willing to be hurt again. You can't go into any relationship, I don't think you can go into life worrying about what happened before. You have to be in the moment, and I think you have to create the future that you want to create as you're there, with no regard to the past. Because who you're in front of, they were different yesterday. And like you said about arguments or misunderstandings, Well, maybe they just had, who knows, a bad call, a traffic accident, so they're in front of you in a different situation than who they might be under normal circumstances. So you might ask, or you might, I think that you observe honestly. Don't explain, you observe honestly, like, you seem to be upset. What's it about? And ask. And they may say, I don't want to talk. I says, well, I can understand that, but something's happening right now that, you know, you're not quite here. Maybe that's not the right thing to say, but you want to open up the discussion if you see something that's out of the ordinary. And at least let the other person know that you're observing it, and then they can deal with it. But most people, I think, are in denial. They're not only in denial about their past, but they're in denial about what's happening right then and there because of their past. And I think, well, from a man's point of view, I see that a lot in women. I can observe them being one way in other situations and then a different way with me or maybe with another person. And I'm going, this doesn't make sense. This is either an act or and I've said this actually to women. I says, it's not okay to lie to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It just isn't, because then everything you out there in public is representing a lie.
I think when people have kind of situation, it is a lesson for both of them, for sure. But most of the lesson get person who will be most pissed off. You know, the more you lose yourself, you know, you wanna kind of to be angry or you wanna
Revenge.
show. Yeah, that's right. This is the most needed lesson, especially for that type of part of the party.
That will ruin the rest of your life.
No,
Anger
no,
and
of
revenge.
course. That's why you have to
It's
deal.
not fun, but you have
It's
to.
fun.
It's like, you have to.
Yes.
It's sort of like, you know, I do martial arts, and so if you get hit, you can't cry about it. You can't get angry.
Do you hit back?
Yeah, you have to, sometimes you have to hit back or defend, but what I'm in this particular aspect of hitting back, that's going on with your plan. It's not hitting back to destroy the other person necessarily. The analogy I was trying
Just
to
to
make
show that you
is
can
if
defend
you get
yourself,
injured
right?
in the past, no. If you get a different type of analogy, if you get injured in the past, you don't carry it on to the future. You have to carry on with a game plan as if nothing happened. You can't be thinking about the hit. You can't be hesitating in life that something might happen again. Otherwise, you've lost the fight for your own
I
future.
agree with you, yeah.
You have to be in the moment of what you're trying to create. You have to carry out your plan against the opposition of life. But you can't carry it into it, anger. I don't think.
Yeah, by the way, you comment on my comment on the Facebook.
Which one?
People want you to do well, but not that well.
Oh, yeah.
What did you say?
I said sort of like, just forget about it, prosper.
Just go and thrive, right?
That's it. You know, the best revenge is to prosper, and you have to carry out your plans. And the same thing even with relationships. If you're carrying into a relationship, even dating or going out, the misery of the past, it's not the other person's fault.
That's right.
You shouldn't even bring it into the game.
Yes, but it is so difficult for people to understand that.
It's very difficult.
They're just going on and on and
They're
on.
reading the damn wrong books and watching the wrong television shows. What is out there for, in my mind, for what makes a good relationship? I think what's in television and what's in books is all bullshit. I mean,
I agree,
I read.
but not all of them. Some of them.
The most of it is. But
Yeah.
this is typically what they're allowing to sink into their own life as advice, whether they're reading Cosmopolitan.
By the way,
on
why do you
relationships.
think that kind of information, I think it's toxic and disturbing and misleading, why it is so available and convenient for minds?
Because there's a group of people out there called merchants of chaos. They don't want people to succeed. That's just what we talked about. And many newspapers and editors and things like that, they get the thrill of the readership through bad news or through rumors.
So you believe in that?
Yeah, I do. I do feel that the majority of the press, I mean, you take a look at any of the news is really made to keep people in fear. and that's how you can control people, through fear. It's not through creativity. You can't control a creative mind.
Of course.
Unless you really...
Because you open completely.
Yeah.
Creative person will accept any fear like, oh, it is a marvelous, right?
They should. It's open. And it's not and the more creative you are, sometimes the more negative people draw into you. Can just, probably in music, see most of it. But it could be in relationships. I mean, Jim Morrison adores Jimi Hendrix, Michael Jackson. Sooner or later, the more creative they are, the negative people come in and try to take them out. Elvis Presley's another one, Janis Joplin. So if you allow these toxic people in your lives, even with relationships, or you carry them forward into a relationship when you're dating or just going out to meet people, you're doomed.
You know, another observation, that people who go from one toxic relationship to another one, it's like, you know, drug addict person who just need to have enough that toxic, which is excites them.
Well,
so you cannot judge them.
So
sooner or later, or they will stop to have that, consuming that toxic, or they will continue on.
Well, I think you have to judge everything in life. That's another thing that I don't like, is politically correct crap. That's just somebody else's mind trying to control your mind. Every moment of life is a judgment, also known as a decision. So the decision part is the judgment part. You're making a judgment.
Yeah,
The thing
sort
is,
of, yeah.
Not sort of, you are. The judge goes up there and says guilty or not guilty. It's a judgment based upon whatever facts and how he assimilates them. And as an individual on a dating type of thing, you can say, well, am I living in the past and making it her fault? Or is this somebody new in front of me? Can I just like wipe the slate clean and figure it out from there? What I like and what I don't like.
Tell me, why did you divorce?
There's no.
You have such a wonderful family.
I do. It's no simple reason. I think in my mind, and it's just my opinion, it's exactly what we talked about, and I had talked to her about it a number of times. She got involved with certain friends that were all divorced. She loved horses, and so she started horseback riding, and women will love their horse better than their man. That's a mistake. It's a mistake, but it's a fact.
I know some of the queen
but most
used to love that much that substitute literally man with horse.
That's what happens, and so most of the women that owned horses were divorced, and they to get away or to get their peace of mind from their husband rather than solving the problem, would go horseback riding. And I would warn her. I says, your friends are all divorced, and they're going to give you justifications as to why their life is working, but their life is a divorce life, and you're going to start falling for that shit. And so
This is true.
I asked her a couple of times. She said, I said, well, yeah, if you got to go, you got to go. I don't want anyone around me that doesn't want me. I'm not into drama, and I'm not into toxic relationships.
So you couldn't join together, and you couldn't go together to
There was
horse
nothing I
ride.
could do to convince her that my viewpoint was, let's say, sane or proper for the future. I had told her that in my family, that between my uncles and my grandfather and my parents, typically what ended a marriage was death. It wasn't somebody's opinion.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, listen, I have 1,000 years of marriage in my family lineage, and your parents were divorced after about, maybe 10. So I have a different viewpoint on things.
Yeah.
If you want to go with your viewpoint, you're going to get what was gotten before and handed down to you. It's almost like a virus.
Yes, I see. You inherited stability, and she inherited as a normal situation, divorce situation.
A lot of drama, a lot of
Yes.
divorce. And it's not to say, and so it's like unable to work things out. I'm not going to get too much more personal about it, but we would go and we would talk to people, and then they would agree with me, and she would literally say to these people, he's hypnotizing you. You just don't understand what a good, debater he is. He's hypnotizing you. But it'd be literally tens of people would tell her the same thing. You ought to listen to him. Oh, no, he's just convincing you. You just don't know what's happening. So one day I'm off lecturing, and I call home, and one of my kids answered the phone. She said, better not come home. Your mom's moving. I said, well, tell her to drive safe.
Yeah. What can you tell? That's right.
What can you say, you know?
Should I help you to pack your luggage?
That's right. No, I'm not going to waste my time helping her pack.
Yes, yes. You know, when person like puts something in their head, it doesn't matter what, they will stick to that no matter what.
Pretty much so. When people see demons, you can't convince them that there's no demons. That's what
Yeah.
they see.
Yeah.
The people do have to see for themselves. But this is why you have to watch who's giving you the advice. What advice are you following? If you follow one path, again, we talked about decisions or judgments, most people have a number of factors going through their mind. In fact, yesterday I was just talking with a woman that my boyfriend is not sure whether he should be with me or not. And she's crying in my car. What should I do? What should I get rid of him? She goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well,
Throw this away.
Yeah, you like yourself, don't you? Yeah, I really do. And you think yourself is a good person, don't you? Yeah. Well, this guy's doubting that you're a good person and you have anything to do with his future. How long you want to keep him around? And I would say the same thing to my kids. And I said to her too, I said, listen, it's like a parking spot. I would tell my daughters, there's this guy in your parking spot. And as long as he's there, a better car can't get in.
This is exactly what I say.
So
That's right.
Empty out the spot, see who shows up, and make a decision. Sometimes somebody's going to show up in that spot, and you're going to have to tow the bastard away. It's just not the right car. But you've got to keep it open for the right particular person. And if that person has any doubts, get him out until he's ready to make a decision. I says, it's going to be hard.
I love your thinking. You know what? Thank you, wife, that you moved out from the space. Now parking space is ready.
I went back to my hometown of Rochester, New York a few months ago this summer and went out with some people I've known since high school. And one of them came up to me and says, how do you seem so happy out there in California, how do you do it? I said, well, basically, I think life has two questions. I like to keep things simple. One question is, what do I want? And the other one is, how do I get it? And anything that
second one,
it
doesn't matter, by the way. Only one question, what do I want?
Well, then you have to decide after you want. No,
you don't think about how.
How do I get it? Yeah, you do have to think. It's called a plan. You can create it. You can create it. You can just be open to allowing that to come into your life. But it still comes down to a decision. That in front of me that just came in, because as again we said earlier about many very famous people, very creative people, other things will come into your life that you may not be aware you're creating until you make a judgment about it. So it does have to define what your goals are for yourself, whether it's a marriage, boyfriend, the night out, okay? And then how do I get it? And that again happens with dating. I mean, whether it's a guy or a girl, a guy might be going out and say, well, I want to get laid tonight. Well, that's what he wants. Now the question is, how do I get it? The girl can have the same question too. It's simple.
I'm just thinking about something.
You ought to let me in on those thoughts. Let the people in on your thoughts here.
Yes, it's reminding me of something.
And you see it all the time. And then when there's people who have doubt about what they want or how they're going to get it, that's where all the drama comes in. Because they can't decide. That's what doubt is.
And here another question will be, and we want to talk about how people dealing with doubting, and actually they doubt in themselves or they doubt in the situation, and why they're doing that. So next video will be about that. If you like what you see, if you like what you hear, let us know, please. Bye-bye.
So what I'm trying to say is that the fact that you have a flat foot, a normal arch foot, or I wouldn't even call it a normal arch.